Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning meditation. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and so glad to be here with you as always each week when we gather for our time together. Just is such a great start to our week, my week. And glad to be here with you today. So we are continuing our focus this year on being in the flow. That's our theme for this year, being in the flow, and what that means for us is going to vary because we each have something that we're working on within ourselves that support our being in the flow. And a lot of times what we find is that something blocks us from being in the flow. And it's in something internal, something that we're resisting, something we have emotion around, or we're holding an opinion so strongly that it doesn't allow us to be in the flow and be open to something that's an alternative to what our opinion is or our belief is. And, you probably have noticed throughout your life that our beliefs change as we grow, as we learn, as we experience. We have different beliefs about things. I can give you many examples of my own, but I want to stick with being in the flow today. And one of the things I'm doing right now is looking for a new place to live. I've been renting since I moved to Florida at the very beginning of the pandemic in August of 2020, and I've loved living here. I'm close to the Gulf, and I just really, really love being nearby. People from my own meditation group that I've been meeting with for decades now. We meet each week, and just I love where I live. And my landlord decided that he's ready to sell the unit, and so I am in a position where I need to find a new place to live. So I've been looking around. I made my list of what I would like in a new home. And over the weekend, I had found this place last week. I went and looked at it, and it just felt like home. It just felt like I walked in there, everything, like it wasn't perfect, but everything just felt right. It felt like my space, my heart. And so, you know, I kind of kept that in the back of my mind, and um, and was in communication with the person renting and so forth. And over the weekend, of course, I kept looking, right? Because I wanted to do my due diligence and not just settle for, it wasn't the first one I looked at, but it was one of the first few. So I kept looking, and I found this place that I was able to see on Saturday. And I loved the drive there. It was so open. The neighborhood was consistent and it was clean and everything. And I walked inside the unit and everything had been updated. Everything had a place. There was a garage. There was, just lots of things that were also on my list. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I want this place. I want this place. This is great. And I kept kind of going back to the other one, and it's not a bad problem to have. But now I have two places that I'm very interested in. So as a therapist, I always practice what I preach. And so what I would tell a client is, well, now you have two choices that you like. Make a pro and con list of each one and see what it feels like as you're writing about it. So I took my own advice and I wrote out all of the pluses and minuses of either place, and they were pretty evenly matched quantity-wise on my list. Both had very good features that I'm looking for. But that first one that I saw that I felt was my heart, I just kept coming back to that. Even though the other one may be more physically practical in many ways, it wasn't calling home to me. It had other features that were um, maybe more ideal on the outside, but it was missing the things that were important on my list that the first one did have. And part of being in the flow, this is just a silly example, but a, a good one to demonstrate how when we're in the flow, we're tapping into that what feels right. What feels like, oh, this feels right in my heart. Not in my head, maybe, but in my heart. This is what feels right to me. And that's what I need to go with. And I am walking forward with that. Maybe I won't be able to get the lease and then I'll keep looking. But for right now, this is the step that I'm taking to just follow my heart and follow what I know is right. And don't worry about the rest. Don't worry about what anybody else might say. Oh, Lynn, this other place has blah, 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 blah. But don't you want that? Like this, you talk about this all the time. Don't you want that? Well, that would be nice, but what's calling to me is over here. So our meditation time helps reinforce our ability to feel what it feels like when we're in the flow and when we're not. When we're in the flow and when we're not. There's very distinct inner sensations and inner experience of being in the flow and not being in the flow. And I know you've had many experiences of the differences between being in the flow and not being in the flow. You can probably think of some off the top of your head, but the more we meditate and the more we strengthen that observer part of ourselves, the more we can feel even those subtle times when we need to do something, shift something just a little so that we're in the flow and that we're doing what is going to be most beneficial to us, even if it's not what our head is thinking. It's what our heart is feeling and experiencing, and that's what we're going for. Our head is full of facts, it's full of opinions. We watch those when we meditate. We watch them fill our mind and distract us from our breath and all of that. So we know our mind is full of stuff and full of opinions and full of, you know, shoulds and this ought to be this way and all of that, all of those opinions of the mind. But in our meditation, we also know those opinions come and go. And we can have a very strong opinion on one side and then 30 seconds later have a very strong opinion on the other side. So our mind is untrustworthy. It really is. In our meditation time, we are getting in touch with what's going on inside of our heart. And if we follow what feels right in that center of us, then we are strengthening our intuition, but we're also supporting ourselves in being in the flow of life, in the flow of life. You know, just life is going to take us on a river ride no matter what. So we might as well be cooperating with the water that's flowing, if we can think of it that way, rather than resisting it and trying to go a different direction and trying to go upstream when the water's taking us downstream. And this is how I can describe being in the flow, and how beautifully our meditation supports that. So I invite you to get comfortable in your chairs and take a deep breath or two. And right now, let's just watch the breath as it flows in as we breathe in and flows out as we breathe out. Our mind and our breath reflect each other. So when the mind is all over the place, our breathing is all over the place. When the mind is calm, the breath is calm. When the breath is calm, the mind gets calm. And we focus on the breath in our meditation time because it helps quiet the mind. It helps calm the mind, calm the body. There's so much happening inside the body all the time that our breath can help synchronize all of that physical activity as well as the mental and emotional activity. So, our breath is so valuable as a meditation tool. And now let's incorporate watching the belly, making sure our breath is coming in through the activity of the diaphragm rather than the chest and the lungs. Just feel that belly expand as you breathe in and relax as you breathe out. Expand as you breathe in. Relax as you breathe out. You want to incorporate our quick breath counting. Feel free to do that, breathing in to the count of 4 and breathing out to the count of 4. And we're just focusing on the flow of the breath today. Breathing in 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, and out 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. Just keep that pace. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing from that belly. You may notice your body calming, relaxing more into your chair. Just notice that. Just feel the flow of that breath. And when your mind wanders, which it will, just bring it back to the breath gently, no judgment. Gently with love, bring your attention back to the breath. Let your attention be in that diaphragm, belly area, feeling that expansion, being with it as it brings the air in, and being with it as the air releases and the belly relaxes. I invite you to put your hand on your heart as you continue that calm breath. Just feel that heart center. That heart center is the satellite dish for our being in tune with the flow of the moment. And if you can spend more time in this gentle state, watching the breath, feeling center, that center right in you, I invite you to just stay with it longer. Keep watching your breath, keep letting go of thoughts, letting them go by, just being there in the stillness and the quiet. If you need to go about your day, I invite you to take a deep breath or two to help your mind-body system transition to activity from stillness. Wiggle your toes, feel the muscles in your legs and your chair supporting you right now. Just feel your room all around you. And just tap into that flow many times throughout the day. If you have a decision to make, no matter how small and insignificant it seems, just check within your heart to see what direction feels more in the flow for you. And go with that. Just trust it and practice. Practice being consciously in the flow inside of you as you're moving about, as you're making decisions. Just practice, practice, practice. Being aware of being in the flow, being aware of choosing the option that feels like it's in the flow within yourself. That's a wonderful practice for this week. I look forward to hearing about your experience of that. Please share with me. There's lots of ways to contact me. And if you're watching this video, you can find out how. Thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.